everybody. Welcome to another Thursday edition of Hawk Talk, right here on 91.7 The Edge, WSUW Whitewater, and live streaming on UWW-TV. I am Nolan Kopolowski, joining you on what is a very, very warm Thursday. Saw a lot of people darting outside, and it was, it's darty weather in February. Who would have thunk it? But we are here, and it's supposed to get a little bit cooler over the next week, but next week, Thursday or Tuesday, I think it's supposed to be like 68. So that's gonna be real nice. Gonna break out the shorts in February. So how are we all doing today on this fine Thursday afternoon, gentlemen?
It's a little warm in here. Other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
It is a little toasty in here.
I'm doing good. I almost thought about breaking out the shorts today, but I said, "Whoa, hold your horses there, buddy." Don't get too excited.
I would be lying if I said I wasn't either. I was kind of looking at them, like, do I really bring them back out? But
yeah, you're staring at them.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like Spider-Man looking at his.
Yeah.
That's for another day. I was like, oh, it's supposed to be 68. We're gonna break them out then.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we're doing fantastic. I brought out the shorts today and a t-shirt because it's really hot in this room.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say you guys have a little sauna over there.
Yeah, we do. We do.
It's really nice outside. We almost moved our meeting outside early before we came in. I also am wearing shorts and a t-shirt, so it is really hot in here.
Yeah, don't mind me wearing a sweatshirt. I am roasting. I'm going to be sweating like Usher at the Super Bowl by the time the show's done. So
just glistening.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get right into it because, gentlemen, we have fantastic obscure sport to talk about to start off the show. I love doing these. I love talking about like chess boxing last semester and it was pack burro racing, flamin' puck unicycle hockey. There's a lot of good ones, and we got a good one today. It's called extreme ironing. Extreme ironing, yes, it is a sport, and basically exactly what it sounds like. Find the craziest place to iron some clothes. And that's the sport. There's people who have hiked to mountaintops. There's people who have done it skydiving. There's people who have done it on the back of a car. Really just insane places. Like, I don't know who really thought about this and how it became a sport, but they have put tournaments on. So what did you guys find about extreme ironing?
I was watching a tournament earlier on YouTube today, and this lady was just ironing in a kayak as it was speeding down a river. And I was like, I want to do that.
That's crazy.
Now, I personally have never used an iron. I don't have that many nice shirts that I feel like I need to iron. But if I do need to iron a shirt, like, I'll go skydiving and do it. Why not? Why not?
Yeah, I mean, there's no better place to iron your clothes. Like, I don't know how long they're going to stay ironed if you're skydiving, but yeah, that would certainly be a thrill. So I don't know. What do you think about extreme ironing here, Colin?
I think that ironing in a canoe, it's lame. She's got to step up her game. We see people skydiving, climbing on mountains. Like Nolan said, I can't fathom how somebody could think of this and then let alone make it into a reality and then get people to watch it and people to do it. I wonder how much these people get paid. What's the point system like? Is it just based on, is it like the dunk contest where you just got 5 old heads who are like, that one was better than this one, and you just get points off that? I don't know. But I'm glad that it exists. I think that shows that there's a place for any sport in this world.
Exactly. You or I can make up a sport at this rate because, I mean, just think of something to do and go skydiving and do it, and that's a sport now.
I think my grandma will be great at this sport. I haven't seen an ironing board since I was probably 5. I remember my grandma used to iron all my nice shirts before, like, recitals or whatever in elementary school.
Yeah. What did you guys think about extreme ironing here?
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting sport. I remember seeing this a while back, never really paid attention to it, and now that I actually get to see them do it, it's just mind-blowing how this is a sport. Like you were saying, crazy places that they do it, skydiving. For whatever reason, underwater seems to be a very popular spot for extreme ironing. Actually, in 2011, in Netherlands, the world record was set for the most extreme ironing underwater, 173 people at the same time. For 10 minutes, we're extreme ironing underwater.
This guy brought the stats on extreme ironing.
Yeah, I just thought it was cool.
Started looking at, yeah.
I don't know why everyone's underwater, but,
I wonder if they, pin it down or what they're doing to keep it down underwater, but it seems like borderline impossible, but hey, more power to him, I guess. There.
Yeah, I enjoyed just watching like little clips of it. Like I watched somebody like upside down on a rock wall. I saw like another person like ironing a shirt on another person. I don't know how that works, but I don't know if there was a board in between
What
them.
hurt?
I was
I'm
gonna
really
say,
hoping there was a board in
did he commit a
between
Burn
them.
their
war crime?
back.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
But it was definitely interesting. Like I saw the skydiving pictures, I saw the underwater pictures, I saw the canoes. There was like people literally like in the donut like things that you send down the river and everything, like ironing in there. And I was like, you know what, fair, like have fun while ironing, I guess. But it seems fun. Go for it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's a sport. That's all I can really say about it. It is a sport, and I don't know if I'd ever try it, but you just got to appreciate that there's some things out there that it's just such a niche market. I mean, who would have thought that like people, like Colin said, like anybody would watch extreme ironing, but here we are having whole tournaments about it. So more power to them.
Does anyone know if it's based on like who irons the best, or is it just who irons in the wildest place?
Seems like the wildest place.
I
to
think
me,
it's
honestly.
like the craziest place. It's
Yeah.
like
Like who's got the nicest?
find the
nicest-
I
craziest
feel
spot.
like if it was based on the quality of the ironing, why would you make it so much harder by going
Yeah.
out and skydiving?
Yeah, right.
Right, but imagine you're the best person who can iron shirts while skydiving.
That'd be a pretty cool
It would be.
thing to be
It
able
would
to tell your grandkids, I guess.
Back in my day, I was the greatest ironer.
You guys throw your shirts in the dryer. I go up to 30,000 feet and jump out of a plane.
Yeah,
And then I do it 18 more times to get each and every piece.
and I
of
only
clothing.
took second. Yeah. All right. Well, extreme ironing, our obscure sport of the day. Go check it out. Go enter an extreme ironing competition if you have the time, because it sounds like a lot of fun. But let's get into some of our more well-known sports now, and we're going to kind of pick up on a topic we talked about last week. We kind of got into the NFL offseason, and we talked a lot about free agents, where we think that some of the big ones are going to go, and now we are going to go to the other big part of the offseason, and that is the draft, because the draft is coming up faster than you might think. I mean, it's going to be here in April, so just about 2 months' time, and we will see where all the young players coming out of college are going to land in the NFL. There are a lot of big prospects here, gentlemen, and some calling the expected number one pick, Caleb Williams, the best prospect of all time. I personally think that that's a little blasphemous, but I'd like to hear your takes on it. But we're going to kind of mock where the quarterbacks are going to go, and as well as some of the top picks in the draft. But let's start with the man from USC, Caleb Williams. Before we talk about where he's going, is he one of the best prospects of all time, or is that just craziness? Mason.
I guess I'll go first. Like I did a full-on like scouting report for Williams just for fun, pretty much. I don't necessarily think he's, this all-time great prospect. I don't think he's better than Andrew Luck coming out. I don't think he's as like popular as what Trevor Lawrence was coming out. I do think that Caleb Williams is a good quarterback. Definitely worthy of that number one selection, and I do believe that the Chicago Bears would be making a mistake if they were to trade out of that pick and not take Caleb Williams. I just have a little blurb that I want to read up, I guess. I said that he'd be a superstar in the league if not ruined by offensive line woes and a receiver that will drop passes. There's plenty to like with Williams, and while there's rumors of immaturity, which we all are not in that USC building, we all do not do the work that scouts do, going up to teachers, janitors, asking those questions. I said it felt like the pros far outweigh the cons. I do not feel like he was really working in a system that truly showcased the type of player that he could be under Lincoln Riley, which is maybe a bit of a hot take. Just the arm talent that he has is insane. There's so many just insane plays where I'm like, whoa. He's like, it's so easy to see like why he's just this number one overall projection.
Yeah. He is the clear-cut number one in this draft class, no doubt about it. But, I mean, if you compare him to some guys like Trevor Lawrence or like a Joe Burrow, do you think he's on the same level as those guys?
I think it's close with Burrow just because like Burrow, you only really had that like 1 year of like exponential growth. Like he wasn't really thought of as that, even like a day 2 selection, which was like rounds 2 and 3 at that time. He was definitely a day 3 selection. When Joe Brady came in and he, was thrown to Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, It was insane. Obviously, like USC has weapons with Taj Washington and everybody, but I think he's probably better than like what Burrow was consensus-wise coming out, but like not up, as I said, with like Lawrence and especially not Andrew Luck.
No doubt about it. Where do you think he's going to go?
I think he's going to Chicago. I think there definitely has been more rumblings, which Justin Fields is doing things on Instagram, going on the St. Brown podcast where he says, he likened it to like talking to a girl. Like even if you don't like follow her on Instagram, that doesn't mean you're not talking to her and all this and that. So I personally think that Fields is going to get traded here potentially even this upcoming weekend, potentially with the scouting combine happening this weekend, or it may be a thing kind of similar to what Josh Rosen was back a few years ago where Arizona did take Kyler Murray and they waited until day 2 to trade him. I feel like it could be something like that.
Interesting. Okay. Over to Zach. Your thoughts on Caleb Williams as a top prospect of all time and also where you think he's going to land?
Well, I thought you summed it up perfectly. I think it is blasphemous, personally. Obviously, he's supremely talented. He can make insane throws. He can scramble. Obviously, drawing some comparisons to Patrick Mahomes, which I think is somewhat justified because obviously he was lighting up the college football field. He does remind me of, I don't know if anyone has seen the 2014 film Draft Day. He reminds me a lot of Bo Callahan. For those that don't know, Bo Callahan was a character in the movie.
That's
that was
crazy.
the clear-cut number 1 quarterback. But he had some character issues, and there are some character issues with Caleb Williams. There was a while back, I think a couple months ago, where he asked to for a part of the team when he was drafted.
I don't think that was real.
Well, if it was, I mean,
Did his teammates come to his birthday
Yeah,
party
that's the
though?
real
Because like,
that I don't know, but I just think there are a little bit of their character issues, some leadership questions. Obviously, no one's judging his talent, but I would not say he's one of the best prospects of all time.
interesting. Okay, and so where do you think he'll end up? Do you think he'll end up in Chicago or somewhere else?
I think he will. Like Mason said, Justin Fields seems like he's on his way out on following the Bears. Bears going to bear. I mean, they're going to pick Caleb Williams, but just like Justin Fields, in that system with how bad of an O-line they had and with their weapons, I don't think he's going to do any better than Justin Fields. Maybe as a passer, yeah, because obviously he's not as good a runner as Justin Fields, but I don't think he's going to do – I think it's going to be a Bryce Young year for him. I think it's going to be similar to a Bryce Young year.
That's
He'll be-
that's kind of a hot take there.
He'll
yeah.
be a little bit better, but I think it'll be similar to Bryce Young's situation.
All right, interesting. Okay, over to Colin. Your thoughts on Mr. Williams?
Yeah, I'm in consensus with everybody in that calling him one of the greatest prospects of all time is pretty blasphemous. Great talent. Obviously, the character issues are something to look at, but he's young. He's got time to mature and work on that. What I'm worried about is him going to a team and ending up in like a Bryce Young or a Justin Fields situation where you put him on a team with no weapons around him and expect him to just turn the team around, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think what Chicago should do is not just draft another great prospect, because Justin Fields was a great prospect too coming out of college, and they took a chance on him, and we haven't really been able to see his full potential.
Right.
But you can't just blame that all on him. You can't just throw another guy in there and expect things to change. Like, other things have to change, and that's why I think they should address other parts of the team with their first overall pick. And I think he'll end up on a team like the Commanders or the Patriots, who also could use a quarterback. And he probably will have a pretty average or below average first year. I mean,
Yeah.
I could be eating those words if he comes out and has like a Texans.
CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud.
C.J.
kind of.
Stroud, yeah.
Sorry, blanking on that. Just lights the league up. But I think it'll just be a lackluster first year. He'll go to a bad team who could use some quarterback help, and they'll give him time to develop and mature. And I think we'll see, but I don't think Chicago should take him. I think they'll pass up on him.
Interesting. Okay. Where do you stand on this, Alex?
I mean, I think coming from Illinois and being close to a lot of Bears fans, it's known that they want Caleb Williams. He's even made it known that he wants to go to Chicago. I mean, typically the first QB selected in the draft always finds himself in a pretty crummy situation. So, like Colin said, if they really just expect him to go in and try and turn the team around, they're in for a shock, because I don't think he's going to do that well. I mean, they have DJ Moore that he can throw to, but that's just clearly not enough with a scummy O-line like they have. I also don't think he's one of the best prospects of all time. He's definitely not a Trevor Lawrence or a Joe Burrow. I mean, those dudes, like, are the reason that I started watching college football in the first place, and I didn't hear about Caleb Williams until a couple months ago. Before that, like, Joe Burrow, everybody knew who he was in that last season at LSU. I don't know. He'll definitely go number one. He'll definitely go to the Bears, and I just don't think he's going to do anything great over there.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of voiced my opinion a little bit before we got this topic started, but I think Caleb Williams is not necessarily overrated because I think that the people who are saying he is one of the top prospects of all time are kind of in the minority right now. Like, I just don't think that that's the general consensus that he is one of the top prospects of all time, or like the top prospect of all time. I definitely think he's lower than some of those guys as far as potential, but that's not to say that he won't be a good quarterback. Like, I think that he does have a lot of talent. If he lands himself in the right position, he could undoubtedly be, a superstar quarterback and, maybe lead his team to the Super Bowl. But I think that the NFL is built in such a way that it really kind of depends when you're a rookie quarterback where you land. Like, a C.J. Stroud landed in what ended up being a perfect place. Houston, everybody thought that they were going to be really bad. And, here they come with all this young talent, and he's in a fantastic situation. He has a pretty good O-line. It's like he had the right situation compared to where it's like if you flip Stroud and Bryce Young, I don't know if they necessarily, do that much different. I think that, C.J. Stroud would definitely struggle in Carolina, and Bryce Young would have the ability to succeed in Houston. Now, that's not to say that all quarterbacks are built the same, but if he lands in a situation, which it certainly seems like he will, I personally think that he's going to go to Chicago, or if the Bears trade, I think they're going to trade to Washington. I think that Washington or Chicago, one of the two, will get him. But he's going number one overall, and I just don't think that he's going to have a very good year wherever he lands. Neither of those teams are really built to have, it's not like they're a quarterback away. And that's the problem, I think, in today's NFL. People move on from quarterbacks way too fast. I am in no means a Justin Fields fan, but I will give him the respect that I don't think he has reached his full potential, and I don't think he has been in an ideal situation whatsoever to succeed. And they're already trying to pass him up and saying, like, oh, you can't resurrect this franchise and lead us to the playoffs. Well, it's like, of course not. He doesn't have any talent around him. He's got DJ Moore, a mid to decent tight end in Cole Kmet. And that's pretty much it at wide receiver. I mean, who else has got? Kyle Mooney? He's got nobody to throw the ball to, and that's why they're doing 15 designed quarterback runs. So I just don't think that Caleb Williams is in a position to succeed wherever he goes, but he is a good piece to build around, and I think that he's going to go number one overall. So after Caleb Williams, that domino falls, which it is, again, likely to happen at number one. There's a bunch of other quarterbacks that are going to be going off the board, and probably pretty quickly. Jaden Daniels, quarterback of LSU, is right now seems to be the consensus number two quarterback on the board. Drake May is the third. J.J. McCarthy, his name has been floated around, and he's been really moving up boards lately because he was kind of behind Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. at one point, and he has kind of flown up to that fourth spot. But again, there's Penix Jr., there's Bo Nix. Both have the potential to go in the first round. That's not to say they necessarily will, but they both have the potential to do so. So where do we think these other quarterbacks are going to land? And we will start with Zach here. What order do you think they're going to land in? Who do you think is going to go up and snag them?
Well, I think based on just the draft order that we have, we have the Bears first pick, we have Washington with the second pick, and we have New England with the third pick. Honestly, all three teams need a quarterback, so it probably will end up being just 1, 2, 3. Caleb Williams. I personally think Drake May is the second best quarterback, so I think Washington takes him, and then I think Patriots take Jaden Daniels. I will throw out, I think I might have mentioned this on the show before, just about the Vikings last year, how they were willing to sell the farm for Anthony Richardson. Mm-hmm. I think they are definitely a team that I could see trading up to get one of those guys like Jaden Daniels. So I think they're definitely a team to watch when it comes to where these quarterbacks are going to go. But I think based on just how the draft order is lined up, I think it's just going to be 1, 2, 3 right off the board.
Interesting. I think I saw a report saying that the Giants were really interested in J.J. McCarthy too, which was I don't know if they'd take him at 6 or if they'd try to trade back. But I feel like J.J. McCarthy, like those teams, there's some teams that have. I know for sure I saw a report that there's a team that has McCarthy as the number 2 prospect. They didn't say who it was.
It was an NFC team.
It was an NFC team. So, I mean, Washington, that would be crazy to me, I think. But
I just don't understand that. I don't see what people see with J.J. McCarthy. I understand maybe he doesn't turn the ball over, and, like, yeah, he won in college, but he's playing, like, with one of the best O-lines.
Right.
And every time he played a top 10 team, I mean, it's not like he put up some crazy stats. When he played Penn State, he only threw for 60 yards. In the championship game, he only threw for 140 yards. I think when you get in a situation, like if he's a top 6 pick with the Giants, with how bad their offensive line was, if he goes up against like just any decent defensive line, I think he's going to get flustered. I think if they are going to pick him, you have to sit him. I don't think he's a like day 1 starter kind of guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that he's a little bit of a project there, but you never know with these teams. I mean, there's going to be so many reports flying around, and teams float out those fake reports to try and get other teams to bite on it. But yeah, I agree with your original take that it's going to kind of go 1, 2, 3. I think that's definitely something that is in the realm of possibility. Over to Colin.
Yeah, and a lot of these teams with the top picks do need quarterbacks. And like I said, I think Caleb Williams is going to end up with the Commanders either by way of trading up for the first pick or by way of Chicago just filling in one of those other holes on their offense or defense and him falling to the Commanders. But then it does go to 1, 2, 3 with you got the Patriots, and then the Giants at 6. And I think Patriots are definitely going to take Jaden Daniels. I think he's pretty clear-cut number 2 in this draft class. And then I like Michael Penix Jr. a lot. You know, obviously went to the national championship, very athletic, got a good arm on him. I think.
And he was the Heisman this year, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No, it was Jaden Daniels.
Oh, yeah, Jaden
Jaden
Daniels.
Daniels.
Yep.
He was the favorite for a while.
He was, right, yeah.
Yes.
Penix fell out at the end.
I think
Okay.
Giants could easily end up taking Michael Penix or Drake May, but with J.J. McCarthy, like you were saying, he won a national championship. He had a great coach, great O-line, great team around him, so it's hard to really see how good he is, and I think if you put him on one of these struggling teams with one of these top picks, he will struggle a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a question that a lot of teams have to ask themselves, how good is this guy actually? They're going to look at him and how he performs in workouts and stuff like that. So I think Jaden Daniels and Michael Penix Jr. are the 2 and 3, with Caleb Williams being the 1.
Okay. Alex.
Yeah, I agree. It's with you guys. I mean, it's definitely going to go 1, 2, 3. You got 3 teams up there with just, I mean, besides Justin Fields, like the Commanders and Patriots are just horrible in the quarterback game, so they probably need a Jane Daniels or a Drake May on their team. Jane Daniels especially, I mean, in my opinion, he's the clear-cut number 2, Heisman winner. Who's got the second pick? Washington, right?
Yes.
Washington's number 2.
I mean, that's just clear-cut. I feel like he's going to Washington. Probably not going to turn their season around.
I can't imagine.
They're going to add like 2 wins, maybe.
It's just not a great
Better than
team.
nothing.
No.
Colin
not a
Coward
great team.
picked him to win the division, believe it or not.
Colin Coward
That's
just says
laughable.
stuff to get people talking.
I don't
Just
know.
like Stephen A.
And then he'll
And
switch
here
his
we are.
opinion to like a week later. So
Yeah.
Same thing with the Patriots. I think drafting Drake May is just something that is in their best interest. I mean, he proved he was an elite quarterback at North Carolina. He was just tearing it up out there. Mac Jones just looks like a baby compared to Drake May, I feel
Rough.
like. So
I
him
don't
coming
think-
in, that's just another added 2 wins, perhaps.
Well, his team doesn't believe in him with Mac
Yeah.
Jones.
Yeah.
Do
That
you?
whole quarterback room, no one believes in any of those quarterbacks.
But to be honest, like I wouldn't really believe in him either. But I know Belichick, like he never really wanted Mac Jones in the first place. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think he'll make a great backup somewhere. But
I'm really interested to see like what all comes out about that New England situation, that documentary. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of details already coming out about
there's a lot of juicy stuff in there, I'm sure.
For me, personally, I have Drake May as the number 2. Daniels is number 3. I'm going to go on a limb, potentially. The Commanders have Cliff Kingsbury as their offensive coordinator. So I do not feel like Drake May is probably the better fit there. I'm going to go Jaden Daniels there just because, although that's another thing with Cliff being the OC at USC, maybe that's a connection with Washington trading up or just getting Caleb in the first place. I don't know, but as you like scroll further down the board, like I know from like 11 to 13, I think it is, you've got teams like Minnesota, Denver, and Las Vegas in a row that all need quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins is an impending free agent. I personally would sign him again if I was Minnesota. Denver's got that whole entire Russell Wilson situation, which I don't know what's going on there. That feels like a J.J. McCarthy spot if I see any. I think Las Vegas is a good situation for them to get a guy on like day 2 and get like a Gardner Minshew, Jacoby Brissett type guy. Just kind of fill that need in case you don't really want to use Aiden O'Connell. As a trade-up candidate, I could honestly see the Rams kind of trading up a little bit and trying to snag like a J.J. McCarthy as like an heir apparent to Matthew Stafford if he does kind of seem to slip. They're at 19 right now. Obviously, Pittsburgh's kind of a weird one with Kenny Pickett. Mason Rudolph's an impending free agent. I have honestly no idea what Pittsburgh's going to do.
They're odds-on favorite to land Russell Wilson right now, too.
That would make sense. It's just a really just interesting draft. Obviously, like most drafts kind of revolve around the quarterback position other than in, I think it was 2022, when Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis were the top guys, which has not worked well for them. But
to say the
yeah,
least.
it's definitely a draft that's going to revolve around how these quarterbacks go and who's trying to trade up for them or not.
Do you think that Bo Nix, and it seems, I mean, for most mock drafts I've seen, it doesn't seem like Penix Jr. is really looking to be a first-round quarterback. Do you think Bo Nix sneaks in the first round?
Are you asking if I think he sneaks in or do I think he's worthy of it?
Do you think he will sneak in? Because there's a lot of players. I mean, J.J. McCarthy is in the 11 to 13 range, and I
Yes.
don't think he's worthy of that, but it seems like that's kind of consensus where he's going. Do you think there's a spot for Bo Nix in the first round?
I think a team will take him just because he's got like the tools, so to speak. I would much rather take Michael Penix, just because of what I've seen. I like Penix a lot, just the ability to throw outside of the hash, throw on the numbers. Obviously, he did have Roma Dunze and a bunch of other guys on his team, but I just don't get it with Bo Nix. Like, I personally just do not get it.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen some mocks saying that the Cardinals are going to take him, and I just don't. I do not see that happening. I don't
Pick
know.
4?
No,
they'll
pick
take him late round.
27.
Oh, I was
Yeah,
gonna
they
say,
got
I
another
wouldn't
pick
do
in the
that.
27.
They have so many other needs that I wouldn't touch a quarterback for them.
Yeah, I mean, and they got Kyler Murray. I really don't understand what everybody, like, it seems like the media has been pushing the story that Kyler Murray's on his way out the door in Arizona.
Yeah, that should have ended like before like this offseason because Kyler did pretty well towards the end of the year.
Right.
And I'm not a big Kyler guy, but there's no reason for them to
Right,
take
he's-
another quarterback when their roster is that bad.
He's
right
a
now.
serviceable quarterback, I think, at the moment. And I think that, again, I'm not a huge Kyler fan, but I think that he is, you know, I don't know if this is going to be kind of blasphemous to say. He's not on the same level, but he's close to the same level in my mind as like a Brock Purdy. He is like a quarterback that if he had a lot of good weapons around him and a good team around him, he could take them realistically to a Super Bowl. I mean, they'd have to be really good, but he's not that bad. He's like a good game manager. He can scramble. I don't understand all the Kyler Murray, like hate about getting him out the door in Arizona. I think he's good enough
I
for
think
right
their
now.
structure there is really smart to not do so. Like Monty Alston was in New England when Belichick was winning Super Bowls in the early 2000s. They won't do it. They've got 2 picks. They need to shore
Yeah.
up their weaponry, and that defense needs some work, which they have a lot of cap space in free agency to do so. But 2 picks in the first 27 picks, plus you got an early second-round pick. I wouldn't touch trading up for or quarterback. I think they're more likely to trade down, especially if a certain player's gone.
All right, and I think that we might touch on that certain player right now, and that is where do you guys think that Marvin Harrison Jr., arguably one of the better wide receiver prospects in the last 5 to 10 years here, where do you think he's going to go? Obviously, son of Marvin Harrison, who, correct me if I'm wrong, but is in the Hall of Fame now,
Correct.
right? Yeah, so Marvin Harrison, big Colts legend, Hall of Famer, and here his son comes out of Ohio State, no doubt the top wide receiver prospect, and maybe the top prospect overall on the board for anybody who's not looking for a quarterback. I mean, there's talk about the Bears even, going to snag him. So where do you guys think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to land? because I've seen him mocked pretty much everywhere in the top 4 except Washington at this point. Even the Patriots, they're saying, might go out and snag him. So, thoughts on that? We'll start with Colin.
Yeah, I think it's pretty likely that he's going to end up in Arizona. They've got the 4th pick. And like I said, I don't think Chicago is going to take a quarterback, but I also don't think they're going to take a wide receiver. I think they're either going to take an inside offensive lineman, an edge, or a tight end, or any of those positions. I don't think drafting a wide receiver is really their answer right now. Same thing with Washington and New England. I think they should both address their quarterback position. I think, like we were talking about Kyler Murray, he's gotten a lot of hate, but correct me if I'm wrong, but a couple of years ago, early in the season, I think 2 seasons ago, he was in the MVP conversation. Arizona was playing great. He was playing great. And just because they haven't been as good since, and he hasn't been as good since, doesn't mean he's a terrible quarterback. And you give him a weapon like Marvin Harrison Jr., and he could be right back in that MVP conversation. And I think, just looking at the top 3 picks, I don't think they're likely to take a wide receiver. But anything could happen because he is such a great prospect, they could. But I think he's going to wind up in Arizona.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree there. I personally think that Arizona's going to stay put no matter what. I think that even if Harrison Jr.'s gone, they're probably going to snag Neighbors there. But that's just my take. But I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to land in Arizona. Alex?
I also think he's going to land in Arizona. Like Colin said, it's pretty obvious that the top 3 teams in the draft right now are going to draft quarterbacks. They need it. They need the help. What the media is saying about like Kyler Murray being on the way out, I feel like if they gave him a Harrison Jr. to really launch the ball to.
Like he was great with D-Hop when D-Hop wasn't getting hurt all the time, you know?
I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. just tore it up at Ohio State. So there's no surprise that he's towards the top 5. And like I said, being the first player in the draft who's most likely going to go that's not a quarterback is kind of exactly what the Cardinals need right now. They don't have great wide receiver depth. So I think adding him could drastically improve their season for next year.
All right, over to Mason. Is that who you were talking about, by the way, before we certain someone if they trade down? Yeah.
So I personally think he's going to land in New England or Arizona. With the New England thing, they've got a new front office and a new coaching staff there with Elliott Wolf and Gerard Mayo there. I feel like there is a chance that they would take like a big trade down, potentially from like the Broncos, who will offer them multiple first-round picks, potentially for like a quarterback. But that still is a quarterback coming up for them. They don't have any receivers as well. I know Demario Douglas did pretty well for them last year as a late round selection, but outside of him, they don't really have anybody. Tyquan Thornton's not been really the best acquisition that they spent a second-round pick on. But ultimately, I feel like New England's going to take one of May or Daniels, whichever one is left available. So that does put Marv in Arizona, although I would feel like they would be perfectly fine with Neighbors as well if somehow Marv goes to Chicago or New England or whatever.
Yeah. Zach?
Yeah, I would agree with the Arizona pick. I think if the Bears are smart, I think they take him first overall just to give Justin Fields a weapon. Of course, I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to take Caleb Williams. But I think Arizona's kind of like the clear-cut option for him. Just going back to what you guys were saying on Kyler Murray, I mean, I don't know where this whole, like, he's not a good quarterback thing came from. I think people saw, like, the whole, like, he plays COD all the time.
Yeah.
So they thought he wasn't a leader.
Like, it's a good joke, but, I don't think it's as serious.
Right. And just the fact that he was injured, I think that's what's wrong with the NFL. I think when like people get injured and people aren't seeing results like right now consistently, I think people just tend to like just underrate them a little bit and they just don't give them the props that they deserve. Like you were saying, he was an MVP candidate a couple of years ago. So I think that if you give him a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., I think that offense could really improve.
I agree. I think that he will end up in Arizona. I actually think that we'll know if he's going to be in Arizona after pick 1. I just can't imagine New England passing up on one of those quarterbacks with the way their situation is right now. They don't have anybody, unless Robert Kraft is telling Mayo to like, I'm really going to throw my trust into Bailey Zappi. They got to pick a quarterback. So I think we'll know by number 1 because I think that the biggest threat in the top 4 or the biggest threat from Arizona in the top 3 to snag Harrison from them is the Bears. I think that the Bears, it'll be, do we want to stick with Justin Fields? Then we're absolutely going to Marvin Harrison Jr. Otherwise, we're going to Caleb Williams and Justin Fields is out the door. So it'll be something to watch as we go through the rest of the NFL offseason here and in the coming months. So we have about 25 minutes coming up here, and we have an expansion draft. This is a segment that we have been kind of prepping for the past week or so. And it is basically putting yourself in the shoes of an NBA GM as you have an expansion franchise coming. We each have our own expansion franchise, and you need to select your starting five, and then we'll get to as many bench players as we can. But like any expansion draft, there is a list of players that all of you were given. If I'm correct, you all saw the list?
Yes.
Yes.
Indeed.
Okay. So there was a list of players given to everybody that are off the board. You cannot draft them. In usual NBA drafts, it's 8 players. We only did 6, so we could, kind of have a little bit more relevancy and for people to kind of understand who some of these guys are, as long as they're not like avid NBA fans. So, but there are 6 players from each team who are off the board, and also the rule is that once somebody picks a player, so for example, if somebody picked, he's not on the board, but if Zach picks Steph Curry, nobody else could pick Steph Curry for their team. So a player can't be doubled up on, and you can only pick one player per team for your team. So you could pick a Warriors player and you could pick a Warriors player, but you can't pick 2 Warriors players, if that makes sense. So those are our parameters for the expansion draft.
Are we
Any
going
other questions?
Snake drafts?
Yeah, we will do snake draft.
Fantastic.
How we determine the first pick?
All right, I am drafting as well, but I will not go first. I will go last no matter what, no matter where we start. I know, I'm so gracious as a host.
Thank you so much, Nolan.
I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. You can't pick the same number. We'll go down the line.
6.
5.
2.
8.
3. You're closest.
Let's go.
So Zach will start, and what number did you say again?
5.
And you said
8.
okay. So you're
Second
closer.
overall.
So then we'll go this way. So actually, you're gonna be last. I'm sorry, Mason. But
Tough.
they just got to go in the order there. So, but anyways, without further ado, Zach, start us off. Who is the first players getting grabbed from his team and put onto your team?
After much deliberation and after a lot of research, I've selected with the number 1 overall pick, Josh Hart from the New York Knicks. I think personally he is the clear-cut number 1 pick of this. I think just given his age, I think given how he impacts winning, I think he's clearly the top prospect on here. He's probably the best rebounding guard in the league, like by far, it's not even close. And he shoots at a pretty good clip too, shooting over 30% from 3. He just impacts winning. He's the perfect glue guy. He can submit him into any team, and he's going to help them win. So that's my number 1 overall pick.
All right, Josh Hart is off the board. And now over to Colin for the second pick.
I think Josh Hart is a questionable first overall pick.
Ooh,
Interesting, okay.
He was a guy that came to mind when I first started thinking about this because I knew he wasn't going to be protected, and I knew he's a great glue guy. He's a great hustle player. Will get those rebounds, but first overall, I'm glad you picked him because he wasn't on my radar. But I'm going to go Brook Lopez as the second overall pick.
Interesting.
Hey, that's all right.
The Bucks center was not on the protected list. I did make the protected list, and believe me, it was kind of a hard decision to narrow some of these down for anybody wondering, like, how is he not on the protected list for the Bucks? But the Bucks protected list was Giannis, Dame, Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis, Malik Beasley, and Marjon Beauchamp. So we kind of focused on some younger players. I kind of tried to think of the minds of teams. Brook Lopez is an older center. He's been, kind of shopped around a little bit the past few years. I'd figured they maybe want the youth over an older, aging Brook Lopez.
I'm win now. We're win now.
Where your win now
2025
mentality.
championship.
Here we go. Okay, so Brook Lopez and Josh Hart off the board. What do we got, Alex?
With my first pick, I'm going to go with another glue guy who affects winning. I'm going to go with Patrick Beverly.
Okay, so 2 Bucks players off the board. Patrick Beverly, another one of those defensive guys, another one of those older guys who, unfortunately, because of his age, did not make it onto the list. Some teams were just like unbelievably hard. The Bucks were a really hard team to choose from. The Warriors were a hard team.
Yeah, those deeper teams, it's like
Yeah, because the Warriors have a good amount of young players, and I almost left Klay Thompson off of the Warriors list. It was very close.
Would anyone have picked him, like, realistically?
On my bench.
really.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a
Mike
bench.
Thompson is
Also,
mid in
just
2024.
to throw that in there, I think it was excuse me.
Diabolical.
Diabolical of you to not have Bol and Bones Highland protected. I don't know why you had that because those are two guys I would have picked. So
Can we read?
Yeah.
Can we read this
I
list
was
off?
so mad when you protected Bowl.
Yeah.
It's like 5 minutes a game.
I showed my roommate the list, and he was like, "That's going to be the first like 0-win team in NBA history." That's just a crazy amount of like people I would not have assumed would be on this list.
Looking at my team, if you
Like
took this
Peyton
team,
Watson.
Yeah. No, I know.
on,
I
dude.
mean, there was a lot of like hard choices, but like if you got to like look through some of like the younger, like he would be a guy who maybe gets protected in like a 7-team thing, but I try to value age a little bit more.
yeah.
But believe me, I was looking at the list and I'm like, how is that guy protected? Like, there's no. You're looking at his stats, he's terrible. But like, the age was there, the talent, like the potential has been there. So yeah, I mean, there were some questionable choices even by myself. But as you were saying,
Oh, I was just going to say that if I get my team the way I want it, I think this team is a top 6 seed. So
Interesting.
That's crazy.
pretty confident
Okay.
right now. I'd say if I get it the way I want it.
Are they
Probably.
going to make it to like the AFC Championship like the Jaguars did in their second year of existence?
You know, this team, real underdog, real like the Lakers last year. You know, as long as they get into the,
Stealing your picks,
as
man.
long as they get into the playoffs, this team is dangerous.
for my pick,
It's not a bad team.
I'm gonna take a guy who I believe is another one of those glue guys, and who was one of the older dudes to not make the list, and that is a guy who wins everywhere he goes, Chris Paul from the Golden State Warriors. 38 years old, I know, but
I was thinking about it.
he's a winner. He's a winner, and he is I think he would bring a great veteran presence to any expansion team. So Chris Paul off the board at my point guard position, and now over to Mason, who has back-to-back picks.
You know, looking at some of these players, I know you saw the Nuggets. There was some. I was kind of baffled that like Reggie Jackson was in for the Nuggets a little bit. But for this, I'm gonna go with Spencer Dinwiddie. He's been kind of rough this year, kind of in a horrible situation, but new place, and he can create a good start in that new place after kind of suffering through it this year.
All right, so Dinwiddie off the board. I knew he was going to be one of the probably one of the first picks. So Spencer Dinwiddie off the board, and you have back-to-back picks, sir. So you get to go right away.
Looking at the board here, let me take. Can I go with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope?
Yeah,
It's a good pick.
you got Kentavious Caldwell Pope.
Great sleeper pick.
You took the shooting guard off of my bench.
KCP is off the board for Mason. So Dinwiddie and KCP off the board. My second pick, there's a lot of guys who I was kind of arguing between. But I said that if these two guys would be here, I think that they could be the two biggest contributors. And again, this is a win now team because these guys are old and they'll probably be retiring. Their careers are kind of on the decline. But I'm going to go Russell Westbrook. I'm going to slot him into the 2. He's a good defensive guy. I would slot him into the 1, but you got Chris Paul there already. Maybe Chris Paul can come off the bench. I don't know, but you got to snag them while they're there. So I'll take Russell Westbrook.
What's the average age of your team so far? 43?
Yeah, it's not good. I'm not gonna lie, but
They're not
we're
making it to the postseason, man.
we're
Yeah, they're gonna just hit the retirement home first.
well, maybe they'll be balling up at Fairhaven. So it's
I can't wait to go to Cancun.
okay. Over to Alex.
I got a young talent from the Los Angeles Lakers. I got Max Christie.
Max Christie.
Solid.
Nice.
Remember when he got drafted and people said he looked like Kobe? Pretty blasphemous take.
That is pretty blasphemous.
Over to Colin.
All right.
Kobe with, like,
for
a
my
toupee.
second pick, and this is tough, I feel like I'm LeBron James doing the decision right now.
With GM.
It's just
Taking
who I
his
want to take
talents
with
to
my
South
second,
Beach.
because my whole starting lineup is pretty solid. So I'm going to go with the guy that I think will get taken soon if I don't pick him right now. Eric Gordon of the Phoenix Suns. I was pretty shocked that he wasn't protected. It's probably the age, but
It is, yep.
he's still he's like what, the 5th, 6th option on the Suns, and he's still putting up like 13 points a game.
Yeah.
So he'll be our second option and give us a cool 17 tonight, and I'm fine with that.
He's no doubt a good player. That was one of the tougher ones I had to leave off of the protected player list there. So back to the number 1 pick, Zach.
Yeah, so for me, when I was building my team, I tended to go with younger players just because I feel like if it's an expansion draft, you're planning for the future. So with that being said, my second pick is going to be Luke Kennard, one of the best shooters in the entire NBA. So I'm going to take some scoring to pair with my hustle guy, defensive guy, rebounding guy, Josh Hart.
All right. You got a back-to-back pick here. So you got Josh Hart and Luke Kennard. Who is your third member of this new expansion team?
And with my third draft pick, I'm going to pick Christian Wood from the Los Angeles Lakers. He's a guy that can space the floor. He's proven when he is a starter. He started in Houston and was putting up credible numbers. He's putting up 20 and 10 a game. So
He's
I
pretty
think
good.
put some size on that team, I think we'll be all right.
Okay. So you got your big three there, if you will, right
Indeed.
now. Back to Colin.
Personally, I watch a lot of Lakers games. I think Christian Wood's pretty soft. I think he's a great offensive player, but
Okay.
watching him bang
Some
down
trash
there, he
talking
gets,
going on here.
He gets thrown around a lot by bigger guys, but not mad at the pick. That's a great pick. I'm going to go, and looking at the team that I have here, I don't think if I took into account the future at all, I think my entire team's going to be retired within 3 seasons. So
And you're trash talking me about my age.
Yeah.
we're going to have to do a lot of
There.
we're going to have to do a lot of drafting after this. But for my point guard, so I've got Brook Lopez, Eric Gordon so far, and at point guard, give me Mike Conley Jr.
Good pick.
Former
Okay.
grit and grind Memphis Grizzly, lefty like myself.
Love Mike Conley. He was a fellow Utah Jazz player
Yes.
back in the back in
Couple
like
years
the
ago.
Donovan Mitchell days. Back in the days, it's 2 years ago.
Yeah. I was like,
Over to Alex.
Give me Dwight Powell.
Okay.
Bring in some size, and 3-and-D guy, real 3-and-D guy, big guy, shoot from the corner. Give me Dwight Powell.
Mavericks fans are rolling in their grave right now hearing that name.
Hey, I couldn't pick Luka.
at least they got rid of Grant
That's
Williams.
true. That's true.
I could not pick a lot of guys on the Mavs.
My next one is something that I think I was going back and forth, but I gotta really be sure I'm right for this pick. I'm gonna go one of the Houston Rockets that was a potential one on the no touch list, but that is Terry Eason. I know there's two. I'm going back and
Not the
forth.
guy I thought you were going to pick.
I'm going back and forth, but yeah, he's we're gonna take him to pair with Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook. Over to Mason.
I'm going to go with Kyle Anderson. Big forward, good defensively and can shoot fairly well. Be a nice piece for us there.
Slow-mo.
Yeah.
And then your next one.
I go Nicholas Batum. Sturdy presence and a
Batum.
Sturdy presence and a good shooter there.
Okay.
I swear I saw Anderson on this protected list. Otherwise, what was I doing? What was I looking at?
I didn't even consider Kyle Anderson.
Yeah, you want.
Well, he was
people
good
who
for
are
me on my
85
fantasy
years
team.
Or
old.
Kyle Anderson's probably like 30 himself.
He is, actually.
He's
Then
not
why did you
young by
consider
any
him?
means. He wasn't old enough.
Right, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Man, a bunch of the guys that I had left are like on teams that I had picked already. I did not do a great job planning this team, I thought. And then some of the guys that you guys took, had as my backups here.
We might not get to the backups.
Yeah, we might
We have
not.
12 minutes.
We might not. We
Yeah.
might not
I
be
mean,
able to
we're
touch, but
starting
at least we'll
five.
fill out. Starting five, maybe a solid bench player. I need to make sure this guy's not on the protected list. I don't think he is.
You made it yourself and you don't even remember?
I don't remember either. I went through so
Oh
many
my
teams.
gosh.
I'm
all
gonna
out
go.
war right now.
I'm gonna go Duncan Robinson of the Miami Heat. He's a solid 3-point
Yeah.
shooter. He'll give us some good points off the. He's gonna be on our starting roster. So, but Duncan Robinson again, that was one of the tougher ones where I was not able to put
Yeah.
him on the list. But there was a lot of good. The Miami Heat. Terry Rozier's not that old. Jaime Jaquez Jr., Nikola Jovic, all both young guys who have a lot of potential there. So back to Alex.
With my fourth pick, give me Mo Wagner. No explanation needed.
Was he not protected?
I thought he was
Whoa.
protected.
No, Franz
Mo-
Wagner.
Franz
Wagner,
was
yep,
protected.
yep.
Okay,
Franz
I was
Wagner.
gonna say you guys
You
started to
are
spook me. But yeah, I got him on my fantasy team. When Mo's out, or when Franz is out and he's in, he plays like a starter. Just a big guy. All those European guys can shoot and defend. Mr. Fundamental. Every single one of them is just Mr. Fundamental. And that's just a good piece added to this team. I got to think of a team name before the draft ends.
Yeah, you got to
True.
think of a team name. For
True.
closing thoughts, we're going to try to think of a team name and a city. So you can pick one of the teams maybe to move to a different city if you want. But back to Colin for.
Side note: are those Wagner dudes brothers?
I don't know.
I believe so. They both
Yeah,
went
they
to.
are.
They
They
both.
are.
Yeah, I was going to say
Oh, they are.
they both went to the same college.
Well, that's a cool little fun fact. My fourth pick, this guy is going to drastically lower the average age of my team. Only reason I know his name is because he lit up the Los Angeles Lakers a couple weeks ago from the Houston Rockets. Cam Whitmore.
Cam Whitmore.
Why did you say it like
Yeah, that was the.
Whitmore.
Whitmore.
Cool Whitmore.
Art Stewie. Yeah.
Cool
okay.
Whits.
That was the other guy I was deciding between. Yeah.
Young guy, super athletic, a lot of tenacity, a lot of go out there and get it. So
Right. Yeah. I like the pick. Back to Zach.
All right, with my fourth overall pick, I know you said that Christian Wood, could be a little soft, so we're going to pick one of the toughest players in the NBA, Steven Adams, as my
Oh,
starter.
Ooh, nice.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. I think he's going to just solidify the team. I think obviously, when he plays for the Grizzlies, they win, so I think there's direct correlation right
he's
there.
a good enforcer guy to have.
I agree,
Just
yeah.
to set the tone.
No one wants to fight him.
Go out there and he's a nice guy too.
Yeah, he is.
But he will body you.
Looks like Aquaman.
All right.
Yep, back to back. Now, this is a guy that many people don't know about, honestly. I mean, he doesn't get a ton of minutes, but I think he is probably one of the best defenders in the NBA. And with my point guard, I'm going with Davion Mitchell.
Yeah, he's a good. He's a
great
good guy.
defender.
Yeah,
Yep, he's a great
I like
defender.
that.
Oh, he's a real good guy.
His nickname is literally Off Night. So I think that, I don't care who you guys got at point guard, he is locking them up.
He came out of the G League, right? Like he went to the Ignite team.
He might have. I know he's on the Kings right now. I know he got drafted to the Kings, and he played for a while there. I think either last year or the year before when De'Aaron Fox wasn't playing, and he did really well. Honestly,
Yeah, I
got a lot
remember
of assists.
when he was
so.
coming out of either college or the G League, whichever one it was. They were raving about his defense, and for good reason.
I
He's a
believe it was
lockdown
Baylor.
defender.
I think he was
Yeah.
on Baylor. Yes.
I might be getting him confused with Scoot for some reason.
Oh yeah,
Bust.
True. Maybe that's
Back-
why they're both busts.
Back to
Give him
Colin.
time.
All right, to fill out my starting five, another old guy. Could we better win the championship this year? Complete wraps, because I'm taking Al Horford.
There you go. I was
Still a
another
good
guy I was
shooter,
thinking
good
about.
rebounder. He might flinch when somebody shoots a free throw, but that's okay,
Who's your next guy? I forgot who you took right after Steven Adams again.
Davion Mitchell.
Davion Mitchell. That's right.
Yes.
Yep. Thank
He
you.
did go to Baylor. I think you were right. Yeah.
Yep, he did. He's like 25. That surprised me. I thought he was super
Yeah.
young, but he's like 25.
Well, he still is young.
I know
I mean-
25 is pretty young.
I thought it was young. He's
But
25.
25 is
NBA,
so old.
For NBA, you would
For
expect
NBA,
him
I
to already
thought-
be into his.
'Cause, like, he
rhythm
was-
this age.
He's been there for a couple years now.
Yeah, I guess that I just remember him in the March Madness tournament, and it was like in 2021, I guess, when they won it, which
Well,
is
a lot of guys. Sorry to get off track here, but a lot of guys who go to college before coming to the NBA and play a couple years in college, you'll think they're super young. Like Austin Reeves, seems like a young guy. He's like 26, which he should be already in his prime
Yep.
in the NBA.
I do
Anyways.
believe Davion Mitchell was 22 coming out of college.
Yeah.
Because I think he stayed with Baylor for a couple of years.
Yeah, it's
so.
guys like that. You think they're super young. But
Yeah.
over to Alex.
All right. The last player in my starting five, the big man, the Atlanta Hawk legend, Onyeka Okongwu.
Oh, out of Chino Hills.
Yes, sir.
I remember the mix.
I was down between him and Andre Drummond, and that's not really much of an argument.
Fair enough.
I
Yeah,
had
I
to
guess.
pick.
Younger,
Today,
yeah.
Today. Andre Drummond, man.
Andre Drummond is.
I like him. He's cool.
He's
Yeah,
tearing
he's-
up the boards though when Vooch is out.
Led
He's
the
tearing
league
it
in
up.
rebounds for like 7 years in a row or something crazy.
I was going back and forth between Drummond and this guy. I'm not sure who I want still. It's another. I mean, it's two old dudes. So my team again is like Collins. My team is. We got to win now. We're going for
Can
the.
we like join forces?
Yeah, I'd say so. Let's just
Okay.
become the whatever our cities are together.
The joint twins.
Yeah, we'll make some business deal here. I'm gonna go with DeAndre Jordan. I'm gonna go with him over Drummond. I think not like my favorite pick, but I think that he'll still be able to offer us a little bit of something. Off the bench of the Nuggets right now. So there we go, DeAndre Jordan, and that leaves Mason.
For the last starter. Is that correct?
Correct.
So my team's kind of old as well. So I'm going to go with a 24-year-old. I'm going to go Trace Jackson Davis. Very young center that's shown very impressive flashes as a rookie. Should pay some, dividends in the future.
All right, and then your sixth man to close out your team of what we're drafting here today.
Can I go with Dyson Daniels, another young player that's kind of squeezed out by too many of, kind of similar style players, kind of in a different structure, should be able to kind of grow some wings and kind of do his own thing finally.
You can get him. I'm going to go with, for my bench player, I got to be a little bit of a homer pick. This is a guy who also was tough to leave. No, not tough necessarily, but a guy who I think if it was 7 or 8 would have been on that list. That's Andre Jackson Jr. of the Bucks. Younger guy who's been making a good, he's pretty good impact for the Bucks. I think has a lot of potential as a two-way player, two-way inside-out threat to really make some noise. So that's what we're going to go with to round out our sixth man. And then that leaves Alex for his final pick.
Give me sharpshooter T.J. McConnell.
T.J. McConnell.
Not bad at it.
I like that one.
Yeah, he's great at getting steals. He ever does like a bunch of steals.
I'm really, after hearing all these teams, I'm confident. I got a
I
good
don't
name,
know,
too.
man. You're
more
I got a
confident.
great name, too.
Okay, I can't wait to hear it. Over to Colin.
And I was really thinking about, I do got a lot of young guys on my bench, but at this point, what's one young guy going to do? I'm going to keep with the older guys, and this guy brings a lot of swagger points. PJ Tucker.
PJ
We'll
Tucker.
bring him and his 2,000 pairs of shoes over to our locker room, get a couple extra lockers cleared out.
Hey, and he's going to be happy to be there. He doesn't want to be in Philadelphia right now.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to ride Pine.
I don't know if he wants to be in the city that I'm going to make mine either.
Okay, well, we'll hear in a sec. Over to Zach to close out our draft.
All right, for my sixth man, I'm also going to go with a young guy. I mean, I just got a lot of young guys, a lot of team players. I'm going to go with Precious Achiuwa,
Okay.
who recently was traded to the Knicks, and since he joined the Knicks, he's averaging 14 points per game, 10 rebounds, a block, and a steal. I think we have the best is yet to come for this guy. So,
All right, so quickly here, I'm not sure, did anybody write down the names of people's players or not? Do we remember teams? Otherwise, you can pass this around and just kind of figure out whose team we think is the best. In the meantime, let's hear our team cities and nicknames for this expansion team, starting with Mason. Or we'll start with Zach then.
well, I know I'm going to leave Seattle for one of you guys. I know Seattle's a popular answer, so I'm going to give Canada some love. We're going to go with Montreal Flames.
The Montreal Flames. Okay, it sounds like
Seems eerily close to an NHL team.
yeah, I was
but-
gonna say
I was gonna say
Calgary
it sounds like
Flames
an
might.
But
NBA
hey,
team.
Just
but-
off the top of my head. So.
Okay, I like it.
I gotta represent Little Rock, so I'm going Little Rock, which is why I said might not be a city he wants to go to. I don't know if anybody wants to go to Little Rock, but sticking with the theme of age, it's gonna be the Little Rock Old Heads, and the S on Old Heads is actually gonna be a Z.
Oh,
And I think that'll
okay.
add some extra swagger points to our team as well.
Okay.
I had
okay.
a similar thing with the Z at the end, but mine is the Buffalo Buffaloes
The Buffalo Buffaloes.
with a Z. With a Z.
We're taking our team we're going to make people travel, and that's how we're going to get to win. And a lot of relaxation here. We're going in Honolulu with the Sea Turtles. The Honolulu Sea
Love it.
Turtles. It's going to be a turquoise court. It's going to be amazing.
Gonna do the Vegas Spades.
The Vegas Spades. Okay. Nobody took Seattle. Seattle got the short end of the
Seattle
stick.
for sure someone was
Straws
gonna
beating the Turtles every game.
I think looking at this, I got the best team on paper, so
You
I'm
think-
gonna claim the
I
championship.
would.
He's
disagree
claiming the
with that
championship.
personally.
All right. Well,
We'll take a look.
maybe that'll be our opening thought for next week. We got to head off, but we are going to heavily debate whose team was the best here after we go off the air. And again, we'll try to come back with a consensus next week, Thursday. But thank you for joining us here in Hawk Talk here on 91.7 The Edge, WFCW Whitewater, and live streaming on UWW TV. Appreciate all of you. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. And we'll see you next week.
Buffalo,
Hey
Buffalo,
there,
Buffalo.
sweet babies. This is Kevin from Fake Shark, and you are listening to WSUW 91.7 FM, The Edge in Whitewater, Wisconsin.